Today we're talking about dry January and how to take a month's break from alcohol. Have you done dry January before, or maybe sober October? In this video, I'm going to give you some tips for absolute success if you're trying to take on dry January and take a month's break without drinking. First of all, well done on exploring your relationship with alcohol. I'm going to make sure you've got everything you need to know to help you get through it, and best of all, to actually enjoy it and to have a great experience that you learn from and quite possibly grow from as well. And you might find at the end of your break from drinking that you want to reevaluate the way that alcohol features in your life. You might even think about quitting drinking for the long term. Now, right now, that might seem a bit alien to you. You might think that that's something you absolutely don't want to do. But if you use the 10 tips that I'm going to share with you in this video, I'm confident that by the end of dry January, you're probably going to start really evaluating and getting curious about the way that alcohol shows up in your life. So let's get into those 10 tips for dry January. My first tip for success in dry January is to take a selfie right at the beginning of the month. Then towards the end of January, take another one. Over the course of that month, you'll notice changes to your skin without alcohol. You'll notice the darkness under your eyes starting to fade. Many people will probably notice how your skin is glowing where it's hydrated again. And when you see that difference and you compare and contrast, it'll give you real motivation to think about moving forward without alcohol in your life. So definitely take a selfie and definitely compare the two towards the end of the month, and write down everything you notice, all of those changes that you can experience, and start paying attention to the fact that if alcohol is doing that to you on the outside and you notice those changes after just 1 month without drinking, imagine what it's doing to you on the inside. Imagine what it's doing to your mental health. Start to get really curious about all of these things. Start considering how you want alcohol to show up in your life in the future. My second tip for dry January, and I think this is one of the most important tips, is to get yourself a journal and start writing down your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, and your intentions every single day throughout the month of January. Try and treat the whole of the month as an experiment and allow it to be an opportunity to evaluate your relationship with alcohol. Start to pay really close attention to everything that comes up for you during the month of January and approach it all with a complete sense of curiosity. There's a likelihood that you might feel some uncomfortable emotions. You might have trouble sleeping, and you might find that 1 minute you feel really happy and the next minute you feel quite down. This is perfectly normal. Your mind and your body are rebalancing. Pay attention to it all, get it down in your journal. If you can, you might even want to think about tracing back where those emotions, where those triggers are coming from. Perhaps it's something from the past that's coming up that you haven't actually looked at. And maybe you've been using alcohol to numb out from facing up to certain emotions, certain feelings, maybe traumas or past neglect. There's other videos on my channel about that. Probably I don't suggest digging into it too deeply if you're just doing dry January, but at least acknowledging where you think it might be coming from is a start, and it will get you moving forward in the right direction. But absolutely pay attention to everything, and as a minimum, write down your daily intentions, what you intend to do for the day. That can include work tasks, but also just affirmations. Make that commitment, make that intention to not drink every single day. Write it down. And maybe you'll meditate, maybe you'll read some sober books or listen to some podcasts or watch some videos like this. Every morning, write down your intentions. It will really set you up for success during dry January. My third dry January tip is to identify under what circumstances you would be likely to take a drink during January. Now, you need to be really honest with yourself here. Write down any people, places, behaviors, situations that you think could pose a threat to your dry January. And once you've identified them and you've been really, really honest, put some boundaries in place. What do you need to do to make sure your dry January comes first and that you won't have a slip up or a setback during the month? Maybe you identify that going to the pub every day and meeting up with your mates is something that's going to cause you to probably drink. And you might find that you need to stay away from the pub for the first few weeks after you cut alcohol out during your break. That's perfectly okay. Do something with your family. Take your kids out. Notice how much joy and happiness you get from doing those nourishing activities. Pay attention to all of it. And that's where you need to use your journal to identify these things and to notice how much more fun you have doing the activities that bring us real joy. And it might be an opportunity to explore new hobbies, new activities, new pastimes. My fourth tip for dry January is to get really, really clear on your why. And what I mean by that is write down the reasons why you think you like to drink. Ask yourself what you believe that you get from alcohol. What does it give you? Maybe you believe it helps you relax. Maybe you think it helps you de-stress or have fun. What are those beliefs that you're holding on to that cause you to use alcohol? Try and get some real clarity around the reasons why you think you like to drink. Just ask yourself that question. Why do I think I like to drink? Write down the answers and then move on to my fifth tip, which is once you're clear on those reasons, ask yourself how true those beliefs actually are. So you might think that you drink alcohol to relax. You might firmly believe that alcohol helps you relax. But is that the reality? Surely hangovers, regretful behavior, having blackouts, feeling a high sense of anxiety the morning after drinking, a complete lack of motivation, all of those are anything but relaxing. Alcohol's a drug, so there has to be an upside. Sure, for the first hour or so, we do feel an increased sense of relaxation. But after that, it's a downhill journey. There's no relaxing. It's the absolute opposite. It's increased stress and increased anxiety. So start to get some real truth on those statements that you gave on my fourth tip and write down new statements that actually reflect the truth, which might be in that example, alcohol relaxes me for a short period of time, but after that, it increases my stress. And I'm now going to experience what happens when I take a break from drinking. Because believe me, without alcohol in your life, your anxiety will reduce, your depression will reduce, your happiness will go up, the sense of calm and peace in your life will increase. I used to suffer from appalling anxiety. It was debilitating. And these days I would score it at 2 or 3 out of 10. It's normal levels, and that's all from quitting drinking. So pay attention to this stuff. And that's what I mean about logging it all down in a journal and getting really curious about what you notice as those days and weeks of January go by. My sixth tip is to keep a log of your sleep. Now, if you've been drinking heavily, if you've been drinking every day, you'll probably find that your sleep is disrupted over the first week or so. For some people, it can last longer. For other people, it might just be a day or two. But do expect a few nights as a minimum of disrupted sleep. But after this, you'll start to experience some of the best sleep that you've ever had in your life. You'll start to wake up each morning feeling refreshed and revitalized. When we drink, we don't enter all of the proper sleep rhythms that we need to wake up feeling truly restored and ready to go for the day ahead. It's like a computer that never gets restarted. It just is on permanently. It doesn't get the opportunity to reboot and refresh. When we don't have alcohol in our system, everything refreshes, everything restores. And when you wake up, you'll really start to notice the difference. You'll feel good. You'll feel energized. Again, pay attention to this. Get it down in your journal or use an app that tracks your sleep and notice the difference. It's hard not to notice the difference because you start to feel so much better. My seventh tip for dry January is to ensure that you've got a really good reason for taking a month's break from drinking. I believe that this will help you stay motivated. Maybe you're raising money for a good cause, or maybe you want to prove to yourself that you have got control over alcohol and that it hasn't got control over you. But no matter what your reason, make sure you've got one and ensure you're really clear on what that is. Having a good reason for doing dry January, even if it is to say to yourself, I want to feel what it's like to have a month without drinking. I want to prove to myself I can control my drinking, or I'm raising money for charity. Whatever it is, make sure you're really clear on that and it will help you stay motivated during the month. My eighth tip for dry January is to notice how much money you save. If you've been buying alcohol multiple times a week or every day like I used to, you're going to save yourself a heap of cash. Keep a note of how much you're saving and then work out how much you would save if you didn't drink over a year. Multiply it by 52 weeks or 365 days and pay attention to how much money you're wasting on booze. And as you go through the month, I'm confident that that will be yet another reason to start questioning how alcohol shows up in your life. My ninth tip for dry January, there's only this one and one more, is to arm yourself with some quit lit. Now, quit lit is the term for books about sobriety, books about living an alcohol-free life. They're going to provide you with tips, tactics, tools, support and advice for getting through the month without drinking. My new book, How to Quit Alcohol in 50 Days, is absolutely perfect for anyone who's taking part in dry January. There's a link to it in the description of this video, because you can read one chapter a day. There's exercises for you to complete and reflections. There's even a journal downloadable workbook with it as well. So it will really help you. You just need to read one chapter a day and you can work through. And then at the end of the 30, 31 days, whatever you decide to do, you can then choose whether you want to read the remaining chapters, or if you decide, you might make a conscious decision to return to drinking. And that's absolutely fine. But if you're going to do that, get really conscious about it. Decide which problem you want to have. You might want to have the problem of waking up with hangovers, not being able to stay in control of alcohol, feeling low motivation and high anxiety. Or you might choose to have the problem of quitting drinking and everything that comes with that, which can be disrupted sleep, cravings to drink, and some uncomfortable emotions. For me, the short-term downside of quitting drinking and the problems that come with that is way better in terms of a trade-off, rather than living the rest of my life staying stuck drinking every day and feeling like I'm trapped by alcohol. But it's a decision you've got to make. But what I would say is get conscious about it, make it a conscious decision and get really curious about the reasons why and understand the pros and cons of the choices that you're making. Don't just hide it away and just go with the flow. Make it a conscious decision. And definitely arm yourself with some sobriety books. Give my book a try. I think you'll really enjoy it. And my 10th and final tip for dry January is to get involved in the community. There are so many fantastic alcohol-free and sober communities on Facebook. You can find private groups where you'll be able to connect with people who are on the exact same journey as you. They'll give you support. They'll understand what you're going through. You'll be able to ask questions. You'll make new friends and you'll be able to find people that you can treat as a mentor who'll guide you and coach you on the journey. If you search for my own Facebook group, it's called Be Sober. You can also find a link to it on my YouTube channel. It's totally free to join and that will help you through dry January as well. So hopefully there's plenty of tips there. You can also find a link to my website where you'll find loads of information, help, guidance and tips that will help you get through dry January. And also make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's 2 new videos every week and they're definitely going to help you stay focused and keep you on track during dry January. And don't forget, if you're struggling during dry January, reach out for help. Make yourself accountable and make sure you've got supportive people around you, which is why joining a community, connecting with the people in the sober world is really going to give you so much strength, support and power in your journey through dry January. And at the end of it, make sure you ask yourself some really sensible, serious questions about how you want alcohol to show up in your life. Get really direct and honest with yourself. Don't hide away from the uncomfortable questions. Make the uncomfortable comfortable, and you'll start to improve your life, and you'll likely go on a journey of self-development and self-discovery that you'll wish you did a decade ago.